And I think a lot of people are so stuck on what they know. And that's where the clash comes in, because you have old power and then you have new power. And the two can actually exist really well. But old power needs to be adaptable, and then new power can remain teachable, right? So if you're younger, the power is actually in your hands. But how can you also leave some room to be guided and mentored? And if you're older, how can you swallow your pride to also collaborate with new power?
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Before 18 show, where we host adults who do impactful and spectacular things in the society and children who also are unique in our society. Today, I'll be your host as 𝐿𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐿, and I really have a spectacular guest with me today. I don't know, I'm overwhelmed, I'm happy, I'm excited. I don't know how to place it, but I'm so happy today about everything that is happening today. I have a nice guest I would like you guys to meet. She has been my idol all through my life since I was a kid. Seeing her in front of the TV all the time, when I'm just looking at that TV, I see her there. She really inspired me until this moment where I am right now. I would like you guys to meet her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Daisy. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I love your voice.
Oh, thank you.
That's a voice for like radio, podcast, TV, done. But I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, I'm really proud about the work you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you very much. So, give us a brief introduction about yourself. I may be knowing something about you because you're my idol, but for the sake of our viewers, tell us something about yourself.
Okay, my name is Janet Mbugua. I usually introduce myself as a media personality because I used to be a news anchor, and I'm still somehow in the media. I do a lot of digital media, global moderating, hosting, podcasting, so I'm a media personality. Also an author, an advocate and activist, founder of Inua Dada, and a mom. I wear many hats, very many hats.
And you fit in all.
I try to fit in all. I feel like all my hats are about the same thing, which is about advocacy. So whether it's through content, through moderating, through being a mom, it's like all of it is geared towards advocacy.
A role model to many.
Thank
me
you.
included.
I appreciate that so much. I really do.
So let's get into this conversation. So tell me about Inua Dada Foundation.
Yeah. Inua Dada Foundation, years ago when I was in the newsroom, there was a story that aired called Periods of Shame. And that story was a very bold story for its time because it showed girls in far-to-reach areas in Kenya who didn't have sanitary pads. And it really affected a lot of us, I think, not just me, because for a lot of us, you just go pick the pads in the supermarket. But here you are with girls who don't have. So it kind of inspired me to say, how about we continue the conversation, shedding light on the issue, but also trying to create access to sanitary pads. So over the years, it's evolved. It's a lot about media, advocacy, and intervention around menstrual health. And yeah, I'm just kind of glad that there's hundreds and thousands of more people around the world who are now doing that work. Yeah.
So it was a push that you got from something that you did?
Yeah, it was a push that we got from something that we did, a story that I saw, and it never really left me. Yeah. Have you ever experienced something like that?
At some point, yeah, because from a context of like period poverty, some people take it from a context of you don't get everything that you need to for the menstrual hygiene and everything, but also that experience of getting a platform you can confide. I come to you, Janet, I tell you, Janet, I'm experiencing period. I'm a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, and I'm having cramps pain. How can you help me? So that I can say that was my version. My mom did her level best on getting me pads and everything, but I guess that was the situation I felt I had because I was so scared to tell my mom about it.
Yeah, there you go. I like what you've said about even like the safe space where people can talk about it. So we need more of them because it's 2024, but unfortunately there's still so many issues around period poverty. And so I just hope we can move to what people are calling a period-friendly world. That became the hashtag for this year's Menstrual Hygiene Day, was period-friendly world. Yeah. So I hope we can all move towards a period-friendly world.
I hope so. One day.
One day.
We are going to reach
We
that.
have to. We have no choice. We have to be there for these girls.
Yeah, because I was looking at something. We may be providing them with pads and everything, but the spaces, as you said, that space where I can come to you as my mom, as my mentor. I can come to you, we talk about it, and you take me through the steps from teenagehood towards adulthood and how I can go around it. Because even in slums, it's something that is growing out, where some people are taking advantage of period poverty.
Oh yeah.
And that's the one thing we're trying to curb. And in future, we're looking forward to something bigger and greater.
We'll come back to this conversation to keep having it, because the only way to, I think, increase the access is to just keep the conversation going.
Yeah. Tell me about one inspiration story that you had in the Inua Dada Foundation when you started it, and it has always been a push for you for reaching more and more and more people.
That's a really good question. First of all, Inua Dada has had so many journeys, so I'll talk of maybe 3 very quickly. The first one was when we kind of came out with it in 2014, when I was still at Citizen TV, and just seeing the girls. We were at KICC doing the Day of the Girl Child, and I think a lot of the girls said it was refreshing to hear this conversation being made public, and it inspired them to have the conversation at home. That was the first one. The second time was in 2019 into 2020, when I launched my book my first time, where a lot of parents would come and say, hey, you know what, your book has actually made me able to talk to my niece or my daughter, or even fathers or uncles saying, hey, I was able to give this to my niece or daughter. That was very important. And then the last one has been, we have somebody who we work with at Inua Dada, and I think what's beautiful about Feni's story is we met her when she was kind of very shy and behind the scenes, then moved to being an office assistant, moved to being somebody who helps us create the pads, because we have a small pad making center, and now she's our social worker. So seeing her journey and hearing her talk about maybe how a platform like Inua Dada has inspired her, for me right now is every day I wake up thinking about, man, how many more Fenis can we find? Yeah, so I think those are some of the things that I think have been milestones.
Yeah, you've had a nice advocacy journey that has brought light, and as Feni's story, it has brought light and shed light to a lot of people outside there, both the girls, the parents, the guardians, and it's a really good job, by the way.
Thank you. I hope so. I think along the way, you sometimes maybe get it wrong. I think there were so many things that I also had to learn. So advocacy means that you always have to be alive and alert to how things are ever changing. And so now I'm really trying to be intentional about being alive to the ever-changing dynamic in communities and societies. Communities know what they need, so you don't need to necessarily go and save them. What it's about is collaborating with them for them to be empowered. So I think it's important that in advocacy, people also continue to adjust their mindset.
So how do you engage with policies makers? Because obviously in the advocacy field, you come across a lot of policymakers on things to do with not only things around girls and such stuff. You meet other people who are interested in such spaces. How do you engage with them?
I think we engage, myself alongside many other menstrual activists, whether it's through convenings, through meetings, through forums. The menstrual health policy space has been, sadly, it's never really been fully successful, because I think the policies are powerful, but the implementation has always been an issue. Yeah. So now I think the fact that now Kenyans everywhere are back on civic education. There's been this civic education rise as a result of the protests, and now conversations around policy are coming back. So what we need to do is be a bit more, we need to push for more policy implementation, I would say. So we've engaged with them, but I think some of them have been good, some of them haven't really understood what they're doing. It's up to us to really make them understand. They must implement the policy now.
Yeah, policy implementation is the whole idea. We have policies, but implementation
is the issue.
And that's where the gap always is. From the beginning to the end, the gap is always there. So going back to the Inua Dada Foundation and how you went through about it, how did the community accept your initiative?
That's such a good question, and I think it goes back to how communities evolve. So many years ago, communities generally appreciate the initiative because they know period poverty still exists. But now I think it's about speaking to community, I would say, for lack of a better word, the community leaders or the community gatekeepers, meaning the chief, the police, the social workers, having them collaborate with you. So the communities have always been, they've always received it, but I think over time we've learned that the needs evolve. So sometimes the community will say, we like what you're doing, but this and this makes more sense for us. Then you try and evolve in a way that respects them. That's what I would say.
Tell us about some of the challenges that were so hard on you because obviously starting an initiative, acceptance in community and everything, some of the challenges that you went through.
I think it's a challenge around making sure that they don't feel like they're going to be, their needs are not going to be understood. So I would say from the beginning, the way we got ahead of the challenge was by first making sure that the need was there. So instead of just saying, we're coming to the community, we're coming to set up, it would be more of, is this needed? Or is there somebody else already doing it? And if there's somebody else already doing it, what gap are we meeting? But this came from just learning and observing, and you don't always get it right. Sometimes the community will be like, you're taking advantage. Then you have to call the chief and everybody to be on the same page, which is something I think a lot of people have gone through, but you have to continue keeping in communication with them to know that they have the solutions and answers. All you're doing is providing that gap.
Tell us about some of the future plans you have, not only around Inua Dada or any other initiative you would want to bring out to the society to build it.
I think for Inua Dada, I really want it to be very, very much a platform that allows people to plug into their agency and their ability to lead on conversations digitally. So some of the programs we might be launching are a youth advocacy training, which I'll say more, I think, when we launch it, but that's definitely in the near future. Yeah, I think I love seeing people's agency come to life. Like even you, Daisy, just seeing the agency you have.
Yeah.
I have a thing about young people's agency because it means that you're able to speak truth to power. You don't have to have somebody speak for you. And that's, I believe, what Gen Z and Gen Alpha have shown us all along, but in the last 1 month, it really came alive. But how do we equip younger people with the tools to better speak truth to power? So I think Inua Dada and even myself through my company are trying to create those platforms where you're giving a platform, but people already have the voice.
As a parting shot to either policymakers, organizations, even the girls and the parents themselves who would love to do something the same way you're doing it, both in advocacy, in the media, as we are evolving as Gen Zs in the digital spaces?
That's a really good question. I think the parting shot would be always be alive to the world that is changing around you. The world we had 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago isn't the world today. And I think a lot of people are so stuck on what they know. And that's where the clash comes in, because you have old power and then you have new power. And the two can actually exist really well. But old power needs to be adaptable, and then new power can remain teachable, right? So if you're younger, the power is actually in your hands. But how can you also leave some room to be guided and mentored? And if you're older, how can you swallow your pride to also collaborate with new power? So that's what I would say to everyone, policymaker, activist, musician, whatever you are, you're either old power or new power. So if you're old power, how are you going to be flexible and adaptable? Because you still have wisdom and experience. But if you're new power, you're living in your reality today. Like Daisy, your experience is more current than mine. Because
and you need to adjust.
And I need, exactly. And it's like, okay, how do I better understand Daisy's I have 2 sons, they're 8 and 5. How do I understand their reality? I am guiding them as their parent, but I also need to learn from them. So I would say that, just like whatever side you're on, you can learn. And if you're able to learn, that the new power can also lean into wisdom and experience, but the old power can lean into the adaptability, the change, the confidence, then I think we'll have a better world. Right now the problem is that they're clashing. And I would honestly say old power needs to do better. Not to set aside, because like I said, wisdom and experience is there for old power, but don't be so shackled by what you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes let it down and say, okay, let's figure out how to do this together. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Janet has told us adjust and be flexible enough. Millennials fit in Gen Z fit in Alpha. Gen Alpha. So make it a chain of growth from the old age to the new age, because you are growing and things are getting better. So thank you so much,
Thank
Janet.
you, Daisy. That was amazing.
It was a pleasure having you here.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you more, and we hope to be there as the youth in the future initiatives she'll be having. Thank you so much. I've been your hostess, Daisy Njoroge. Meet you in the next show. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, Daisy.